Hello, we're back. I'm just going to show you now. We've got our mask is looking nice. Going to keep it nice and neat. So I've done hem stitch along here. I've also done hem stitch along there. So you should be able to see that. So I'm just going to give that a nice press. If you look at a completed mask, what you have is a folded over seam here. Again, that's with hem stitch, and one there. That's where you put the loop of elastic. But what you need to do before that is make a very neat little seam here. So take your short piece. I'm using a piece of card rather than my heat-proof ruler. I'm going to experiment with this. You just want to turn over about 1/2 centimetre, which is again about half of a little fingernail, depending on your fingernails. And just being really careful, just give that a press and a bit of a puff like that. If you pull the card out, it makes it easier. And I'm just going to put my pins there, my clips, just to hold that. And we'll do the other side. You'll be really professional at doing this shortly. Once you've done a few, it's not too difficult. So again, make sure you've got your edge. Working on an ironing board just gives you a little bit of, you can stand up to iron, which gives a little bit of weight to what you're doing. I noticed one of the group was sewing on Saturday. I like to stand up when I'm sewing. And believe me, I do find that quite relaxing. Okay, so I'm going to give that another press. And again, pin that. You can sort out all your little tails and bits and pieces afterwards. So I'm going to start on this bit here. Perhaps take out your clips for this because it is quite fiddly. And I'm just going to put one pin in here to hold this. Okay. And again, because I'm left-handed, I'm going to keep my fabric in my left hand, and I'm going to take my needle and thread. And what we're going to do is sew a seam. Richard, I think you had got to this part. So this is where we go again. I've used quite a long bit of thread here. And we're going to do our hem stitch, which means you pick up the fabric underneath diagonally, or you can do running stitch. But I think for this, hem stitch is easier. This is not going to be seen, so you don't really have to worry. Okay, so we're running our hem stitch nice and smoothly. When you get to where your pin is, either leave it in, sew round it, or because we've got quite a small bit of fabric, I find I stub myself in my thumbs quite a bit, but I think that's just the way I sew. I am self-taught, and I don't think there's any wrong or right way of holding your needle. Some experts have very particular ways. If you watch embroiderers, they just seem to stab the fabric in all different ways, diagonally, horizontally, and straight down. So if you just sew along there, this should take a couple of minutes. I timed it. A mask, once you've got used to doing it, takes about 23 minutes. So you've got 6 pieces of fabric. So you just know that if you've got a spare half an hour, you could cut your fabric, you could steam it and pin it. Or if you prefer, if you felt the class went a bit quickly, you know, in 2.5 hours we made one mask, but that was stopping and starting. If you want to start and just practice maybe with another piece of fabric, I think I gave you extra lining fabric than you need. Use that to maybe have a practice. The reason I use the clear lining is the kind of cream lining. I think it's really important to know when your mask is dirty. I've got lots of masks that are of similar fabrics, and what I found was it was really easy to pick up one that you'd already worn. So I think just a quick look at these, especially for those of you who wear lipstick, or at this time of year, you know, when the weather's changing, your lips can get quite dry when we wear lip gloss or something, or Vaseline. Okay, so sewn along that side. Give a little press. And I'm going to use these little shearers cost about £2, but they are really lovely. I think they're like little mini sheep shearers. You see them there. And I like to cut all my tails as I'm going, just any little stray bits, because it can be a bit annoying when you then turn over to sew your next bit. So we've done that side. I'm going to move on to this side now. Just give that another press. It's curling up a little bit there. Okay. And again, I'm just going to put a pin in to hold it. I'm going to turn it round. So I'm holding it in my left hand. Take my needle and thread. And I've got a few dangly bits here. I've also managed to undo my needle. There we go. Here's another one. So again, starting underneath. If you feel happier doing running stitch, do running stitch. But I think it keeps it a bit easier to fold over. Oh look, I haven't gone over far enough here, so I'm just going to have to overcompensate for that. I'm going to pick that fabric up there. What you're doing is attaching this and pull that together. This is not going to be seen. At school we had to do repairs on our PE kit. I can just remember using really thick needles and really thick, almost like gabardine thread, the thread that you would use for buttonholes, and it wasn't very easy. So I'm just going to turn this around to finish it. I hope that you can see what I'm doing. Nobody's going to inspect your stitching, especially on this bit. Now this isn't my best bit. I've got another bit that looks a lot neater that I can show you. So after we finish this, we're going to get ready to add our elastic. But I'm just going to show you what this is looking like. I'm rushing a little bit now towards the end. Okay. I'm trying to sew it so you can see what I'm doing. This wouldn't be my normal direction of sewing. Finish it off there nice and neatly. What you don't want, where your elastic is going to be, I find that can be the area where there's a bit of discomfort. So there we go. So try and keep it as smooth as possible. So we'll press that. Have a little snip. Okay. And our next thing we're going to be doing is that is going to be folded over. And that's going to be folded over, but we're going to put our elastic in between that. So what I'm going to do to help me to get a nice edge, I'm going to iron that first. I don't think we did that in the tutorial. So here we go. Like I said, if I'm going too fast for any of you, because I do tend to chatter, you can just stop the video and rewind it. Okay. So in fact, the next bit is not the, after we've done this, it's not the elastic. We're going to do our folding. So what we'll do is rethread your needles. You've got that folded over there. Keep that back, and I'll be with you in a second and I'll show you how to do your folding.